So guys, we're going to finish reading up on what was this one? Chapter 10, Madame Aldrich's Oblich. And they were just getting ready to ask her an answer to a question. Okay. And she had just asked her, haven't come to buy trinkets. She felt annoyed that this woman would think that she might want any of those things, especially the potion. I only wanted to ask you a question. An answer to a question? Madame Aldrich leaned back, releasing a slow breath. But that is the rarest prize of all. There are emperors and sultans who cannot afford such a thing. I don't have any money, so if you're going to charge me, then it'd best not say anything at all. Sophie turned back toward the stairs, but a hand caught her wrist. The grip was gentle, but surprisingly firm. She looked back to Madame Aldrich, who was smiling. Do not go, little bookmender. She released Sophie's arm. You have been good to me in the past. I will answer your question, if I am able. Sophie eyed the woman, and a shiver snuck through her body. She wondered briefly what her father would say if she knew that she was in this unsavory place. Sophie pushed those thoughts from her mind, reminding herself that the book had told her to come here. It's about this, she said, setting the Book of Who on the counter. Someone brought it to the shop last night. It reminded me somehow of the books you've brought me for mending, so I thought you might know something. If Sophie had been expecting a big reaction, she was disappointed. The woman glanced at the worn cover with an expression of something less than boredom. You bring me a book in need of mending? Is it not meant to be the other way around? Perhaps, but I've never seen a book like this. The ink is strange. The paper shows no age. I don't even know what it's bound in. Madame's hands twitched slightly, but she did not touch the book. Sophie noticed that her long fingernails were coated in red paint that matched her lips. The sharp tips shone in the sprite light. I can solve one mystery, I think. The binding is some sort of an animal hide. I could tell that much, Sophie said. But what kind of animal? I don't recognize the texture at all. Don't you? The woman reached out, tracing a red fingernail along Sophie's jaw. Perhaps it's not so strange as you think? Dread washed over Sophie as she apprehended the woman's meaning. You think it's bound in human skin? She had, of course, read about such things in very old histories, but had always suspected that this was a sort of poetic embellishment. That's horrifying. The woman widened her eyes. It is not so horrifying as you say. A body can be burned or buried or fed to birds. Are those fates more desirable than this? She leaned close to the book, whispering, Hello, my long-dead friend, whoever you were. Sophie's mouth was by now wide open. She straightened up. You're making fun of me, she said. A pitying smile broke across the woman's face. Forgive me, bookmender. It was a harmless jest. Everyone knows that human flesh isn't thick enough for binding books, and the oils would damage the paper. She said this in a way that implied that there were only other human things flesh were perfect for. Though what those might be, Sophie did not want to know. We shall learn what we can of this book. The woman reached behind her counter and produced a pair of green silk gloves that went all the way to the elbow. May I? She asked, fitting them over her hands. Sophie nodded. It's very old, just be careful. I always am. Madame Aldrich picked up the book, holding it at a distance that one might a coiled snake. The gloves were clearly some sort of safety precaution, though from what, Sophie could not guess. The woman touched the symbol on the spine. That mark is unusual. Sophie agreed. At first I thought it was a flower or star, but I think it's 4 question marks. I'm not sure what that means, though. When my father saw the book, he threw it into the open stove, but it wouldn't burn. That sounds like a Shadrach charm. Very powerful and impervious to common flame. She examined the spine. Someone has gone to great lengths to protect this volume. Perhaps we can learn what makes it worth protecting. She lifted the latch and opened it to the title page. Sophie heard a catch in her breath. The Book of Who? The voice was almost a whisper. Sophie watched her face, which was carved into an expression of perfect wonder. You've heard of it? Sophie said. It was not a question. If you were not so smart a girl, I would lie to you and say that I did not know of it. She traced her finger along the edge of the page in an almost sensual way. And then I would offer a trinket in exchange for the book. I told you I didn't want trinkets. Which is why I offer none. Madame Aldrich stepped out from behind the counter, carefully removing her gloves as she spoke. You said someone brought this book to you? Who was this person? Sophie stepped back. It was a boy and his friend. I think they were sent by a man called the Professor. The Professor? The woman examined a jar of sprites hanging just above her head. She tapped lightly on the glass, watching the creatures blink and buzz. I have heard rumors of a man who calls himself by that name, she looked at Sophie. If the rumors are true, then he is not one to be trifled with. I'm not afraid of him, Sophie said with more conviction than she felt. Oh, but you should be. And any of the other persons who knows what you hold, Madame Eldridge cocked her head as if she thought were just occurring to her. Myself, for example. Sophie stared at the woman who suddenly reminded her less of a shopkeeper than a spider. She glanced toward the trapdoor at the top of the stairs, which was now closed. Had she shut it on her way down? She held out her open hand. May I have my book back, please? Your book? Madame Eldridge opened a portable maculage and began applying a fresh coat of red paint to her lips with a small brush. It does not belong to you. You admitted as much a moment ago. It's getting late, Sophie said. Papa knows I'm here, and he will summon the guard if I'm not back shortly. Summon guards to my shop? The woman laughed, and for the first time the laugh sounded genuine. She pursed her red lips, peering at herself in a mirror. Tell me, little bookmender, do you know why this place is called the Oubliette? Oubliette means forgetting place. Sophie peered past her at the book still lying on the counter. The people upstairs, they come here so they don't have to remember things. The woman stepped towards Sophie, who stumbled back. True, but that is not all. Down here it is called the Oubliette for a different reason. When a person enters with something valuable, something I desire, that something is soon forgotten. And if the person doesn't want to part with it or give it to me, the woman smiled, her red lips glistening in the sprite light, then that person is also forgotten. Wow. We start chapter 11, The Mandrake, tomorrow. Whew. This one's got a lot of excitement. This Jonathan Auxier is an unbelievable writer. He really, really keeps you interested in his books for sure.